Do you want to build a business that you can double, triple, or even quadruple in size? In a word, you want to make your business scalable? If so, I have this single idea to share with you today. It's not actually my idea. It's something that Jeff Bezos makes all his executives learn, and it is super important. And if you get this, your business can literally, it's the thing that's holding most people back from significantly increasing the size of their business. Hey, I'm Scott Peckford. This is the Eliyahu Mortgage Brokering Podcast, a podcast I produce every week. And this week, I don't have a guest, but I thought I'd share with you something that I've learned that has been super valuable for me. And I hope it's going to be just as valuable for you. I'm going to break this down for you in a couple of ways. One, I'm going to explain to you where the idea came from and the theory behind this. I'm going to make it practical and talk about how it applies to your mortgage business, get into the weeds on that. And then I'm going to give you a single question, what I call a snap your finger question, to help you identify what is the thing that's keeping you from scaling today. All right, before I jump into that, I want to give a shout out to our title sponsor, Finmo. Finmo is a Canadian mortgage application, document collection, submission platform designed specifically for Canadian borrowers. It's very easy for borrowers to use. So it's got some cool features like smart docs. It knows what docs your client needs based on how they fill out the app. It's got smart submission notes, pulls key data from the application based on what they put in, so it makes it easy for sending to the lender. And it's connected to the lender spotlight. Check them out at lendesk.com/Finmo and ask to get a demo. It's best to just take that thing for a test drive. I guarantee you will love it. All right. So what is this idea that I'm talking about? And so there's this great book called The Goal by Eliyahu Goldratt. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name correctly. And it's a book that's on Jeff Bezos's list for all of his executives have to read when they join Amazon. And it's the story about a guy a manager who's brought into a factory who said, if you don't fix this factory, it's going to be shut down in 3 months. And he had to figure out what was going on. And it's in story format, but the whole idea is that this management consultant, Eli, talks about that you have to identify the constraint within the business, or the bottleneck. Some people call it constraint. And so if you imagine your business as a factory, because I'm going to explain it that way first, and I'll make it mortgage related in a sec. But you have a piece of a product that comes in, it gets worked on by one machine, then goes to the next machine and the next machine, all the way along. Let's say there's 5 machines. The business can only go as fast as the slowest machine. So that is the constraint. And so they talked about in the book, they had identified the constraint in the business. It was this one machine. And so if that machine shuts down, because these other machines can produce more, if that machine shuts down, they don't just lose an hour on that machine. They lose an hour across the entire business. So you can see why not identifying the constraint is a major problem. And most mortgage brokers, we're terrible at this. It's something that I have only been learning more about as my business has been getting bigger. But so what happened? So then they said, okay, how are we going to solve this? So once the first step is you got to identify the constraint. And the second step is you got to eliminate it. And so then the way they eliminated this, they did a couple of things. One is they wanted to make sure that machine could never shut down. When that machine shuts down, that means everybody stops. The second thing is they had to do quality control before that machine. So they wanted to make sure that the parts going in were good, because if it came out the back end no good, you actually you're wasting everybody's time, because that's the slowest machine in the chain. And then the other thing they did was they added in a second machine. It wasn't as good, but it provided extra capacity so that they could maintain, if that machine went down, the other machine was still going and they could get ahead on the parts that they were producing. So the whole idea is that once you identify what this constraint is and you attack it vigorously, your business will be able to grow again. And here's the thing that'll happen though. There's the constraint it's not gone. It just moves. So that machine no longer becomes the constraint, and then it can move somewhere else in the factory. So it goes to the next slowest machine. Or if you've got great capacity, your constraint actually leaves the factory and it becomes the lead side of it, driving business into driving in sales, so that you actually can be at full capacity again. And so if you think about this from your mortgage terms, you got leads, right? You got applications, approvals, closings. I would add in follow-ups, like what are you doing on the back end? Because that should be part of your factory. Too many mortgage brokers just worry about getting paid today. And that will actually drive more business back to the front of the line again. But in any case, so leads. So if you're getting lots of leads and very few apps, and you're like, maybe my quality of my leads is down, right? Or you're getting lots of apps, but you're not getting very many approvals. So are you doing a good job of how you're packaging those files and making sure that you have the best chance of getting them approved? All the way along. And so the idea is you look at your business through this. And so I'm going to talk to you some very specific examples of other mortgage brokers that I have done some chats with or coaching calls with. And so the first one is from my buddy Dion. And so what Dion was telling me, that in his business, it's busy. The underwriter, especially some of the lenders, there's certain lenders we work with right now are extremely busy. And so so that becomes the constraint. The constraint isn't, if you've got lead flow, the constraint is, how do I get my lender to turn around faster? And so what he told me he would do is every day he would he would look at his pipeline and be like, okay, these are the ones, the files I need to get answers on. And he would reach out to his underwriter and say, hey, here's 3 that I need today. They are done. They're literally, there's nothing there. These files are as perfectly flawless. You can touch those once and be finished with it. And then his lender would be like, great, I'll grab those 3 files, check, done. And now he's like, okay, cool, because I keep my business moving along. So if you get, this goes back to quality control. If you're running into problems at the lender side, if that's the slow machine in the factory, the last thing you want to do is send anything in that is not 99.9% finished. So that's the first thing. Second time, I talked to another broker. This guy does hundreds of millions in business. And we were talking about I ask lots of questions when I have these conversations. What's going on? And, I said, what do you think your biggest problems are? And he gave me 2 problems. He said, well, one, I've just hired some new people and, I want them to increase their capacity, and 3 things he wanted to do. I'd like to do more marketing. I feel like my marketing's falling off. And then the third thing he said is I feel like our whole loan process isn't as good as it could be. Now, I got to be honest with you. This guy is he is a top 1 percentile in marketing. He is a top 1 percentile in his process, but he likes fixing those things. But the constraint wasn't actually those 2 things. And so the constraint is that he is doing too many of the jobs because his staff they've not caught up to him yet. And so after our discussion, what he realizes is like, I actually just got to spend time training my staff. I got to spend time I've got to create more capacity for myself. So I said, if the marketing dips, so what? He's like, I was going to hire this coach to help me with some more marketing. I'm like, you don't need more leads. You've never had trouble getting leads. That right now, the constraint that I see in your business is simply, we've got to get these people up to speed and be productive so that you can go and then you can turn on the marketing jets whenever you want. And so we were able to do that. And I told this other story on another podcast, but I was chatting with another broker and I said, what's your I asked her the question, my finger snap question, which I'll tell you in a sec. And she said, voicemails. I've got so many people leaving me voicemails. This is it's a pain. I got to get back to these people. And I said, okay, so let's walk through how do we solve that. So once she identified what that thing was, for her, it was like just the annoyance of getting back to people. We said, okay, let's set up how we on the discovery call. The way we set up that conversation is something like, hey, you know what, just to let you know, I'm excited to work with you. All communication to do with your mortgage has to come by email for compliance purposes so we can keep track of it. So if you send me a text or something or an email or a voicemail, I'm going to ask you to send it by email just to make sure that my team and I can take care of you. And we don't want any delays for you. All right. Oh, okay. Client nods their head. It's going to, and then the other thing you do is on your voicemail, same thing, same message. All of a sudden, this little annoyance is gone just because of a couple little process changes. And then another broker I chatted with recently, I had said to her, hey, what's going on? And she would say, I'm feeling stressed, got some stuff. I need to increase my income. And she's a good broker. She's newer, but she's an awesome mortgage broker. And so I said she had some things that happened, changes in her life that's necessitated her going, I had this kind of goal to grow slowly. Now I need to grow a little more quickly. And I'm like, great. I said, so what did you do to grow up to this point? And she shared with me about the stuff that she had done. I'm like, okay, are you doing that? No. Oh, okay. How come? I don't have time. I don't have time. I haven't made time. And so we just talked about coming up with a plan. And what I find too, when it comes to coaching people, is it's mostly asking questions. Right now I'm monologuing to you, but if I'm coaching somebody, I'm going to do a lot of questions and I'm going to try to uncover what's going on. And often the people know the answer. Like, these are smart people. They're all smart people. They all know these answers. All I'm doing is providing a perspective. It's like a mirror that they see things like, oh, I didn't see that. You're right. And to me, that's what good coaching is. Good coaching is helping you see things, that giving you a perspective that you may not have. I was chatting with her and we talked about, I said, so when you were super productive getting your business going, did you have a theme for every day? Did you prospect every day? I did. Okay, cool. Let's make a new plan for that. Let's come up with a plan for Monday, Tuesday. Who are you going to talk to? What is the time of day? And I explained, I'm like, this has got to be non-negotiable, right? If you want your business to grow and not be a roller coaster, which is what happens to a lot of mortgage brokers, is they go, they market, then they get busy, and then they will, I don't need to market right now. I don't have time. And so then they put all that on the back burner, and then the business starts to dip. And then they look up, by the time that last file gets approved or closed, they go, oh crap, my pipeline is down. And then they go back again. And so it's really easy to make the urgent take over the important. And the urgent is, hey, that file is on fire, that whatever. But the reality is that if you do not build the discipline of consistent prospecting, and at least in this case, that was the thing that's going to be the constraint for her business. I explained to her, I said, if you get this down, the consistent prospecting, you're going to have a new problem. And the new problem is going to be like, holy crap, Scott, I'm so busy. I need to add in team members and support, no problem. We can help you solve that problem next. But the reality is that, and the constraint changes then from consistent flow of leads to, oh crap, how do I actually manage the business that I have? And that's going to be bringing in team members, right? And back to the first example of the broker I was talking about, no problem with leads, no problem. Even the process is really good. For him, it was about getting the people able to be productive within his system. And so this to me is a really, really important thing for you to figure out for your business if you want to scale it. And what I call this finger snap question, or the snap your fingers question and I can't remember where I heard this, or I wish I would give the person credit because it's such a good question. I wish I could remember where I heard it. It was on a podcast, I think. And it was, if everything else were to stay the same in your business and you could snap your fingers and one problem would be instantly gone, what would it be? So I'm going to say it again because I think it's that important. If everything else were to stay the same in your business and you snap your fingers and one problem is gone, what would it be? When you answer that question, it may not be the constraint, but it's very likely the constraint is certainly an irritant that you should look at tackling. And if it's a simple one, like the one I talked about with the voicemail, that can be fixed in a day. Like that is not now training your staff. That's got to come up with a plan. Okay, I'm going to do one-on-ones this many times a week. I'm going to do a group call with them. I'm going to put in some other process changes in order to make that all happen. And the other thing I talked to him too, this guy said, you got to record all their calls, record all of their phone calls, all of their video calls, because one of the best ways to make salespeople better is to record them. And you can, and of course, if you're on a call, and let's say if you're even yourself, the way I would do this, if I'm on a call with someone, I want to record it, I'm going to say to them, hey, I got this note-taking app. I record everything so that I don't have to forget anything. That allows me to then go back and look at it. If it's my team member doing it, I can go, oh, wait a second. You know what? Here, what do you think? Let's talk about this phrasing or whatever. And I have software that I run it through that actually, measures how much you talk and how much you listen and all these other things. It tells you how many times you use the word like or any of these crutch words. It's crazy. But in any case, so if you're trying to train people, I would encourage you to use recording because it's like a professional athlete. If you're a professional athlete, a professional golfer, and you never saw a video of your golf swing, you'd have limited information, right? This recording gives you so much more information. Okay, so here's the whole point of this thing is, what is the idea that will help your business scale? It is identify the constraint in your business and attack it mercilessly. You need to go after that constraint because if you fix that, all of a sudden your business is going to expand and then it's going to move somewhere else. And that's cool. It's like whack-a-mole, but it's not whack-a-mole of like, oh, I'm just putting out problems. It's whack-a-mole of like, I'm hitting the big mole. Bang, cool. Now I've got to, and each time you do that, your business will grow and get bigger. And that's how you're going to triple, quadruple, 5x the size of your business is you apply this process. And I'm telling you right now, it works. And it works. Reality is it works in any business. If it works for Jeff Bezos, who's much smarter than us, I guarantee you it will work for you. All right. Hopefully you found that useful. And if you're listening to this, if you find these podcasts helpful, please do me a huge favor. Go leave me a review on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to these shows. I would really appreciate it. If you do, something great will happen. You'll get 3 deals next week. Actually, I can't say that's going to happen, but I would appreciate it if you could go leave us a review. More people will find the show. Thanks again for listening. And as I always say, there's no problem in your business that hasn't been solved. Your problem is like, who's got the answer? Hopefully this podcast can give you some of those answers. Thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next show.